Hey guys, Alex here from Homeschool of Bel Air. Today's video, I'm going to be answering all of my most frequently asked questions. Stay tuned. So I made a list of all the questions that I get asked the most. And this is just a combination of questions that I get asked on YouTube as well as my Instagram. Before I get started answering these questions, I do want to thank you guys for subscribing. And if you are new here, hello, welcome. My name is Alex. I am a homeschooling mom of 3 kids. I'm going to get more into the questions and try to answer all these questions as best as I can. If for some reason I missed something and you guys are just curious about something else, feel free and leave it in the comment box. I'll be more than happy to answer any of your questions. I'm going to go ahead and get this video started. I'm hoping it's not too long. So I've got my cold coffee here and I'm ready to answer these questions. Okay, the first question, which is the one that I get the most, is why we decided to homeschool. I'm gonna try not to make this super long, but the reasons we decided to homeschool, it was something that I wanted to do from the beginning. When I first had my first son, it was always an option. It was always something that I thought about. Even before I put him into kindergarten, he never went to preschool because I felt like it wasn't necessary. I had him at the house. I only worked part-time at the time. So the free time that I did have, I would spend it with him, educating him, teaching him little things, setting up little projects for him to do here at the house. So when it came time to enroll him in kindergarten, I did think about it. It was something that I really didn't want to do, but at the time, like I said, I was still working, and I worked mostly the whole entire weekend, but I also worked a few days out of the week. Not only that, at that time I had just had my daughter and I had gone through a really bad delivery. So homeschooling at that time was just taken completely out of the equation. My son's experience in public school as far as kindergarten and first grade, we had a really bad experience with our schools here in our town. We live in a very small town, so we don't have very many choices. We have our regular elementary school and then we have private school, which is pretty much the only 2 options we have. When it comes to his experience in kindergarten he had a little bit of an older teacher when he first started in kindergarten. With this teacher, I felt at the time that he wasn't really learning much. When he would come home from school and I would ask him like what he learned or what he was doing, he never really had answers for me. Now, I hate putting all the blame on the teacher and the school. I know a lot of it had to do with just him. He was one of the younger students in the kindergarten class. So I don't know if that had a lot to do with it. His birthday's in July, so he barely makes the cutoff point to start school. And soon after, I realized that he was going to school with kids that were so much older than him. So I don't know if that had something to do with it. All I know is that it really affected him. He got set back a little bit in kindergarten. Not only that, that's the year that we realized that he needed glasses. He has actually pretty bad sight. He has a little bit of a weak eye when it comes to his left eye, and that affected him a little bit. So come after Christmas, the teacher decided to leave and retire, and they ended up getting another teacher, and I did feel like he was learning a little bit more with this new teacher, but I think he had fallen so far behind already with the first couple of months of school that I feel like there was just no way of him catching up anymore. So I had spoke to her about maybe holding him back, or, you know, what she thought about him, you know, academically, if he was going to be able to move ahead to first grade. Of course, they moved him on ahead to first grade. At this point, when he started first grade, we decided to put my then, how old was he? I believe Adrian was about 3 or just about turned 3. And we decided to go ahead and put him in a little Mother's Day Out program. It was a little Methodist church that had a little Mother's Day Out program right down the street. So we decided to go ahead and enroll him in that. It was, I believe, 3 days a week, and it was from 9 to 2. Yes, 9 to 2. So what I started not liking about the schedule was that at this time I was, and I hate complaining about it because, I mean, there's parents that do it every single day. I just feel like it wasn't for me. I was basically driving one or walking one to school. My husband took charge of taking Vincent to school because he started a lot earlier. So right before work, he would go and drop one off at school, come back home, have breakfast, have his coffee, do whatever he had to do, and then I would go drop off the other one at school. I would come back, my husband would go to work, and then at lunchtime when he comes home from lunch, I would have to go drop him off at work, come back home. Soon after, I would have to put down Evelyn for a nap. Then when she would wake up, I would have to go pick one up over here and then pick the other one up over there, and then come back home, and then later on go pick my husband up back at work. So it was just driving back and forth pretty much the whole entire day. And it was just getting to the point where we were paying all this money for one to be in this little private school that also followed a curriculum, so he should have been learning, but the same thing happened with him. His teacher that was pregnant at the beginning of the school year ended up having her baby around Christmas time, decided not to come back from maternity leave. So then there was another teacher that was put in that was just like a sub, and then she decided to go back to nursing school. So then they got another teacher. By the end of the school year, he had had so many teachers, he never learned anything, and we had been paying all this money for him to be in this little private school. So that was a little disappointing. My now first grader is still kind of falling behind because all the little gaps that were left in kindergarten, he never really caught up in first grade. So then it was just disappointment after disappointment after disappointment. And, you know, at that time I had brought it up to the teacher that, you know, I knew his vision had something to do with his, a little bit of learning disability. I had brought up dyslexia, and I had mentioned to her how, you know, how I felt about it, and I had researched it, and I spoke to a friend of mine that at the time, I had this friend that was a dyslexia coach for many years, and I started showing her some of his schoolwork. I would send her pictures. I FaceTimed with her one time, and you know, she kind of told me that her belief was that he was dyslexic. Now, we haven't gotten an actual diagnosis for him being dyslexic or anything like that, but I'm pretty certain he is. I've watched him, and I've just from me watching videos and reading up on it, I do, you know, I'm trying to figure out a way that I can get it through the school system where I can get him a dyslexic coach. Somebody in town mentioned to me that a dyslexic coach, even as a homeschooler, I can probably get it funded where I can send him to the public school to see this dyslexic coach that the schools fund. So I'm trying to figure all that out so I can get him in that program. So I'm just kind of going to try to research that a little bit more in the next couple of weeks. But I had mentioned to her how I felt about that, and she kind of brushed me off and was like, no, it's normal. Don't worry about it. It's nothing. So by that point, I was already disappointed even more with the teacher not wanting to really help me out with this. And so by this point, it was coming close to the end of the school year. I was trying to figure out what to do, if I was going to keep Adrian in his little private school for actual pre-K. And I had even gotten the enrollment letter asking me if I was going to go ahead and enroll him in the next program up, which was pre-K. And I just thought about it, and the more I thought about it, and by this point, I had already decided to quit my job and just become a full-time stay-at-home mom. And I felt like I was already going to be at home. Evelyn was a little bit older by this point. I can't remember how old she was at the time, but Evelyn was a little bit older now. She was walking, you know, she was, you know, I was fine after her delivery. So by this point I was like, okay, time has gone by. Let's try to look more into this homeschooling thing since I'm already going to be at home anyway. So I researched how to pre-K at home. And the more research I did on pre-K, the more I started, you know, thinking, okay, this is pretty easy. Let's go ahead and do this. I started researching how to homeschool regular school. So, or a higher grade. So then I, you know, researched it some more. I watched a lot of YouTube videos. I was on Pinterest all day, every day. I researched, you know, what I had to do as far as my state. And since I was going to go ahead and jump in it, you know, with my preschooler, I already had all the information that I really needed. I decided to go ahead and a week before the end of the school year, before my son ended his first grade school year, I decided to sign him out of the school district. I allowed him to finish off his the rest of that week that he needed. So he finished off that week, and after that, he was out of the school district. And by that point, I had my brother fly in from California, and I had him and my husband help me out to set up one of our spare rooms into a schoolroom. Not this one. We have another room downstairs, a little bit smaller, that we set up as my schoolroom, and we went ahead. I started ordering curriculum. I just decided to go ahead and do it, and we did it, and it was probably the best decision I've ever made in my life, and we love it, and that is the reason why I homeschool. I just was very disappointed with the schools here in my town. Not only that, my son does have a learning disability. The school wasn't willing to work with us, so that is the main reason why we decided to homeschool. Not only that, I mean, one of the other reasons is all of our families in California, before Vincent even started school, we were still going to California about twice a year. And when he started school, we were going to California once a year, if that. There was years where we would go without being able to go because of his school schedule. And the time that I was able to go, I had to go without him because he was in kindergarten. So it just ended up being myself with my two little ones. And my husband had to stay back with Vincent so he can, you know, go to school. So that was really hard. So I felt like I liked being on our own schedule. I liked being able to go to California whenever we wanted to, when the tickets were cheaper, which are usually off seasons. So it's definitely something that fits our family a lot better. It fits our lifestyle more. Not only that, I like to always say that my husband and myself, we're pretty adventurous. We're very, how would I explain it? We're very spontaneous. So there's times where we'll just sit around and we're like, let's go here. Yeah, let's go. And we'll just pack up the kids and we'll go. So I felt like when they were in school, it was really hard to do stuff like that. And now that we homeschool, I mean, there's times where he'll even just come home from work and we'll just go do something because we can. And it just fits our lifestyle so much better. Another question that I get a lot is, what is our homeschooling approach? My approach is very relaxed. We're very eclectic. So when it comes to homeschooling, we do a lot of things. I don't feel like we're going to fall under a certain, you know, we don't do like Charlotte Mason or, you know, Waldorf inspired or Montessori. We don't do none of that. I mean, in all honesty, we're secular, eclectic homeschoolers. We focus on academics. We focus on fun, and that's really it. And as far as the kids go, I did adapt. When I first started homeschooling, I tried different ways of, like, methods of keeping their curriculum and, you know, just choices on curriculum. And what stuck with me was preschool levels. I loved tray work. I loved having everything set out for my preschoolers to just kind of be able to grab trays, set them on their desk, and everything's ready to go. I'm assuming that's more of like a Montessori style. And then for my older kids, I did prefer more of a workbox system as far as curriculum goes. I do like for them to just have everything separated and ready to go, so they're ready. So to me, workboxes to me is almost like tray work because everything's in that one bin or that one workbox, I guess. And if you guys see behind me, you guys will notice that I did change up Evelyn's area. I'm going to have to do a whole video as to how I'm prepping for our next school year. But just so you guys can see behind me, I'm for preschool. And I did it with my now kindergartner when he was in preschool with me. I do half work boxes and half tray work. So like that, it starts to prep them for kindergarten and, you know, get them used to the workbox system. So I already have some of her little work boxes ready, and obviously we're still going to do the tray work. But that's going to be for next year. And like I said, I'll make a whole video on that. But as far as approach, I don't really have an approach. Like I said, we focus on academics. We focus on fun. I've been very relaxed this school year, even much so than last year. Last year, I think I was just a little more scared and wanting to finish everything. This year, we're so behind right now, and I'm just, you know, I'm not stressing over it. You know, we took a long break last year that sent us back a little bit. So this year, we're trying to catch up and try to do the work from this year. And at some point, I just said, you know what, let's just finish up what we got to finish and not worry about that stuff till, you know, whenever we get to it. So I'm not too worried about it. And the way that I can best describe it is my second grader, it's still finishing up language arts from first grade. That's how behind we are. So I'm trying not to take as many breaks. I scheduled in a week off every single month. And even though after spring break, I had told myself, okay, we're no more breaks. We're going to just have to school throughout all the way to June at least until I can figure out where we're at so we can start off our next school year in August. We do homeschool year round. So we do July to August. And as far as I see right now, as far as our schoolwork, we're still behind. We're still behind, but it's going to get done. It's no big deal. So yeah, so as far as approach, we don't really have an approach. We just, we're just getting through the day. Okay, so one of the other things I get asked a lot, and this is mainly from like family or people that just know me personally, why I started my YouTube channel. I started my YouTube channel mainly to just kind of give people a different point of view in homeschooling. I think when I was doing my research and looking up homeschool and homeschool families and just even people to connect with, all the homeschoolers I was finding were religious-based homeschools or homeschoolers, and even co-ops. Like everything I was looking up was just either Christian-based or just some kind of religious-based homeschoolers. It was really hard to find someone that was just a regular secular homeschooler. I don't know how to explain it, but when I was researching, it was just really hard for me to find anybody to really connect with. So it was just something that I wanted to offer, the smaller percent of secular homeschoolers, is someone to, be able to find on YouTube and, oh, okay, there's a secular, Of course, now I know there's a few others out there like me, but at the time I was like, there's no other secular homeschoolers out there. Like, where are they? And even in the area that I live, there's really nothing around me. That's why we've never joined any co-ops. That's another question that I get asked a lot. If the kids are in any kind of co-op, we're not really doing anything, besides what we do here at the house. We don't go to co-ops. We don't go to any like group, nothing. I don't have a Facebook. And when I was researching, homeschool co-ops, a lot of them send you to Facebook pages, and because I don't have a Facebook page, there's no way of me connecting with them. I found a group really close to me that's a secular homeschooling group, and again, when I tap to connect with them, it's send me straight to Facebook, so there's just no way of me connecting with these people. So I just stopped searching, so we just homeschool here. We do our own thing. So that's going to take me to my next question. So as far as the kids, I know the horrible word socialization. As far as me socializing the kids, I feel like they get plenty socializing. I don't feel like socializing has to be with the same age group kids. I don't feel like I need to find groups with kids, of kids that have, families that have 3 to 8-year-old kids. I don't feel that way. I nanny 2 girls. One is 13, one is 11, and they get plenty of socialization with them. They're homeschooled as well, so we're always with them. They come over a few times out of the week, or, sometimes when I have to nanny them, I have to drive them to the softball games. The kids come with me sometimes, and, I feel like socialization it's pretty much just talking. So it's a matter of them getting out and talking to people and talking to whoever it is. Being that we're from California, we don't have a family here. We do have family here in Texas, but it's they all work and they're all older, so it's not somebody that we always go and visit and hang out with. The age difference is pretty big. So when it comes down to having that family support system where I can just go to the store, or me and my husband can go on a date night or go to a music show or whatever, and leave the kids with someone, it's just out of the question for us. So we tend to take the kids everywhere with us. We'll find family-friendly areas that we can take the kids to. We live very close to Austin, Texas, which is like the music capital of the world. So there's always some kind of festival. There's always some kind of music, whether it be music festival or just regular. I mean, there's like Bat Fest. There's Corn Fest in some other town up. There's a Red Poppy Fest. There's festivals for everything out here. So basically, as soon as it's springtime, the festivals start. And I mean, I literally have no joke, I literally have a calendar, and it's our family festival calendar. And I don't know where it's at right now, but I sometimes get emails from the family magazine here in town, and it sends you all the family friendly festivals or things that are going on in town. And I have everything that we want to go to. I write it down in this calendar, and we just kind of plan for it. We have something going on tomorrow. We have, you know, another festival next week. So there's something always going on, and we take the kids to all of this. So they get plenty of socialization. They're outside enough. I feel like even during the week, yeah, we're at home most of the time. I take them to the park maybe once or twice a week. My husband does, actually. That's my little break. And they get plenty socialized, so that's not an issue for me. Okay, so then another question that I get asked a lot is the ages of my kids and their grades. I have an 8-year-old, I have a 6-year-old, and then I have my little daughter. She is 3. She's going to be 4 on the end of May. And as far as grade levels, my daughter is currently in preschool. She'll be starting actual pre-K next year, which is pre-kindergarten. And then my 6-year-old is kindergarten right now. And then my 8-year-old, he is first grade / second grade. So, because we're still finishing off a lot of first grade stuff. So, I hate doing the whole grade thing, but that's where it is. Another question that I get asked a lot is if I work still. I think because a lot of people that follow me on Instagram see that I sometimes, I guess I don't post as much of my makeup how I used to. So a lot of them always ask me if I still work. Yes, I still work. I do makeup on the side. I'm a freelance makeup artist. I travel for makeup. I mainly do it on Saturdays. So it's not something that I do throughout the week. It's rare if I do. And if I do, I work from here. Because obviously I can't go anywhere. But I do still work, not all the time. If anybody knows when it comes to wedding season, I do mainly weddings. Wedding season is usually spring through October. And that's usually the highest point where I do most of my work. Usually throughout winter time. Nobody really gets married in the winter, so it's very slow throughout winter. Unless it's like a winter formal for a high school, and then, you know, I do that. But I prefer to do weddings, so for me, that's what I do. But yes, I still work. How do I find time to do everything or anything? We take a week every single month from school, and usually in that week, I try to get as much done as possible. I try to pre-plan as much as I can in that 1 week. Whether it be for that month or for the next 2 coming months or whatever. Like, for instance, this is my week off of this month. So for April, this is my week off. I have been in this week that I've had off. I ordered all of the kids' curriculum. I set all their curriculum aside already. I've set all of my daughters. I printed everything out for her next school year. Everything that she's going to be doing is already set aside. Everything's ready. So that's what I do. So I pre-plan in that 1 week off. So I always recommend to people to take, you know, if you need a week off, just take it. Just no big deal. You'll do whatever you got to do in the next week. It doesn't matter. Also throughout the week, when we're done with school, we're done with school by 12. We do lunch from 12 to 1. My husband goes back to work at 1. And then from 2 to about 4, before I have to start dinner, I have a few hours. I mean, that's, you know, 2, 3, it's 2 hours. I have 2 hours to really prep my daughter's tray work for the next day. Pick up here a little bit. If I need to vacuum up here, I'll try to vacuum. I'll try to do as much as I can. So that's what I do. Now, as far as time for myself, I don't get much time for myself. On the days that my husband doesn't do jiu-jitsu, he'll, sometimes if the weather's nice, he'll take the kids to the park after dinner. And if he takes the kids to the park, it'll be for 30 to 40 minutes. That gives me 30 to 40 minutes to just kind of chill out. If I have a video to edit, I'll edit. If I have printables to print, I'll print. So that'll give me some time to do something. Not only that, sometimes on the weekends he'll do the same thing. He'll take the kids to the park. We live literally right across the street here. There's a park, so it's right across the street. So there's times where I'm up here printing. I could actually look out the window and see them when they're at the park. And he'll do that sometimes during the weekend. And that'll just be my time alone to focus on myself, do whatever I need to do. And yeah. Okay, so the next question is, how are things going as far as the school year? And how is my daughter, how's she doing with her schooling? I'm I haven't done an update video as to we're trying to finish off the school year. We end, like I said, we homeschool year round, so we school from August to July, so it's just complete circle. As far as schooling this year, I mentioned before, we're behind. I'm not gonna lie, we're behind. I think there's a few things that we've already completed for the school year. As far as writing, like the handwriting without tears, we're done with. There's a few things that I feel like we're gonna be able to finish off fine in July, and there's things that I feel like we're probably gonna have to start doing 2 lessons of certain things just to finish them off by July, because I do want to start everything that I have set for them for our next school year. I do want them to be able to start this in August. I do feel like there's going to be a few things that certain curricula from this year that it's going to have to just kind of hop over to next year. We'll see. I'm really going to try to squeeze. And I told my boys, even if some days we're going to have to do some Saturday schooling, they're okay with it. So we'll see. We'll see once we get there. Okay, so as far as my daughter goes, somebody had asked if she's learning a lot or if I felt like she learned a lot this school year. I feel like I did a really good job in keeping her busy. Now, did I do a good job in really teaching her? I felt like I didn't put enough time to her schoolwork as far as really focusing on letter sounds and counting. And she knows how to count from 1 to 10. She knows the ABC song. Now, can she tell me all the letter sounds? No, she can't. It's okay. I think once we tap into next school year, she's going to be doing a little bit more schooling. I'm going to try to see if I can get her to be doing at least 2 hours of school. And that's already a lot, but we'll see. But for pre-K, I am going to be introducing sight words to her, some pre-primer sight words. And we're also going to be doing more counting, more phonetic sounds when it comes to the alphabet, the letter sounds. In her pre-K grade, I think I am going to be a little bit more pushy about her learning the sound before we move on to the next sound. Where this year, I just did, okay, we're doing A this week, okay, B next week, C next week, D, we're up to W this week. And, I just kind of did every other letter every day. Where I feel like next year, if she doesn't get the A in that first week, we're going to move it on to next week. Okay, you having, this letter says the A sound. Can you say A? Because I do pre-K to me is more of that kindergarten prep. So it's teaching her to get prepared for kindergarten. So I think as far as this year, I was pretty relaxed with her. As long as she was having fun and was willing to do the schoolwork. She took a few breaks where it was her choice to drop out a few times. But as far as that goes, I mean, I kept her busy. I did a good job in keeping her busy. So that's as far as we went with her. Okay, so another question that I get, and this is more from my schoolroom. What type of printer do I use, and how can I afford to print out so much stuff? So this question I do get a lot. So my printer that I use the Epson Workforce 3640. And I absolutely love my printer. It is a Wi-Fi wireless printer. I can print from the couch. Like there's times where I'm sitting with my husband during lunch, and I'm literally on Pinterest printing stuff out from the couch. I love it. It has a top loader, so you can print. Like I can literally rip out like a workbook and stick up to 20 pages on top, and it'll run them through and print them out. It also has the little glass table thing with the printer, and I believe it also has a scanner, and it also has a back loader. It can print on the big long paper. I'm trying to think all the awesome features that it has. Color printer. It also prints in black and white, obviously. I'm trying to think what else it does. It's awesome. I love my printer. Recently, I think I might have to invest in a cleaning system for it. I think I need to clean it. It's been printing kind of janky, but I've also had it for 2 years. And I mean, it just recently started giving me problems with the ink. Now, how can I afford to print all the time? I buy generic ink. All the ink that I buy through Amazon, and I buy the generic brand, which is usually no name. And like for instance, the last order that I made was three of these. So it was 1, 2, 3 for 25 bucks. So I mean, you can't really beat that. Where when I was buying the Epson ink, it was just one of these was $50 to $60 depending where I purchased it. So with this one, like I said, I get 3 packs. So 3 by 3 packs, I mean 3 large black, 3 yellow, 3 magenta, and 3 blue for $25. So that's a lot of ink for just 25 bucks. So they do run out. So if you're, and I don't know if they make the generic ink for all printers, I don't know. But my printer, I can usually find it pretty easily. The laminator that I use the Scotch brand laminator, and I believe I've had this for 2 years now, and it works amazing. And I actually dropped it once, and it made a funny sound, and then after that, it just stopped making that funny sound, and it still works perfectly fine. So yeah, so this is Scotch laminator, and I got this, I want to say for $19 on Amazon. I could be wrong though. And then the laminator sheets, I just posted them on my other video with my shopping haul, is the M Flabel brand from Amazon, and it's like $10 for like 100 pouches. Okay, so another question that I get is what kind of comb binding machine do I use? Or if I use comb binding or spiral. I get that question asked a lot also, and I don't have a spiral binding machine. I have a comb binding machine. Now the difference with these are comb binding, it makes the long rectangular hole punch, and the comb binds are like these plastic little combs. For spiral, obviously it would be like a notebook like this, like a notebook. I don't have this type of machine, even though I do, depending on the curriculum or the workbook that I have. If I feel like I want to comb bind it, I'll comb bind it. But if I feel like I like it better in a spiral, I will take it to Office Depot and get it spiral bound. It's only like $3 to get that done. So I have usually no issue with that. But for the most part, this is what I use. And this is the Marigold. I don't know if it'll focus. The Marigold 21 hole punch comb binding machine. Love it. Now as far as the combs themselves, I get them through Amazon. I buy them in big boxes. They're pretty inexpensive. And I believe the brands that I buy are the Brothers brands. I think those are the ones that are compatible with this one. Because there are some that are 19. There's 19 of the little rings, where mine is a 21, and I believe the Brothers ones are usually 21. I don't know. There's something like that about it, but you have to just be careful when you order them. Okay, so got that question. Okay, what are my favorite places to buy curriculum? Because we are secular homeschoolers, it is very hard to find curriculum. I'm not going to lie. I think when I first started my first school year of homeschooling, I couldn't find anything because I didn't really know how to research companies. I didn't know, not that I didn't know how to research company, I just didn't know what to look for. So any website that I would type in homeschool curriculum, everything was Christian based. So it was just, I guess, knowing the companies, and because at the time I didn't know the companies, I ended up going with things that I was familiar with. So at the time I was very familiar with the Harcourt company. I was familiar with the Dutton Mifflin company, because those are curriculums that they use for regular school. So when I started finding these textbooks on Amazon, I decided to just go ahead and stick with those companies that I was familiar with. So Amazon, and even now, I love Rainbow Resources. I feel like they have amazing prices on curriculum, workbooks or textbooks. And of course, thriftbooks.com, but I usually, if I order stuff from thriftbooks.com, it's usually through Amazon. Like it'll be like a link. So yeah, so a lot of the stuff that I buy, like I said, Amazon, and I usually buy like the used textbooks, and then if I can find the workbooks, I'll try to find the workbooks new. But, you know, so another question that I get asked a lot is how I make printables using PowerPoint. Now, I tried and film a video for you guys to show you guys how I do it, and it was so hard. I had to, like, it took me forever to try to edit it, and then at the end of the day, I just didn't like it, so I never posted it. I wish I can show you guys. I cannot. What I would just suggest is if you go to YouTube, what I would suggest is if you just do a random search on YouTube, which is what I did, how to use PowerPoint to make worksheets. And usually there's teachers that have already made tutorials on how to make worksheets with using PowerPoint. It's super simple. It is probably one of the simplest ways of doing it that I feel. As long as you have PowerPoint, you could also go to Teacher Paid Teachers, and you could, there's a bunch of teachers that also offer free clip art. So that's what I do a lot. I'll go sometimes and search for just free clip art from Teacher Paid Teachers. And let me show you guys. This is a complete sight word workbook that I created for my daughter. Now, the whole thing, the little character and the border, it's all just clip art that I find on either Google Images or free from Teacher Paid Teachers. So even if you're just looking for, you know, tag labels, like for instance, the schedule cards that I made for my boys, even when looking for something like this, the clip art, obviously it's not something that you can sell to someone because you're using people's licensed clip art. But because you're using it for your kids, I feel like it's okay. So I made these schedule cards. All I really did was I looked for, you know, like let's say for instance, Singapore math clip art. And I have an Apple computer. All I had to do was go on the image, click and drag into my desktop. And then when I pulled up my PowerPoint, I can just drag and put in, and that's it. So it's super simple. Like I said, if you go to YouTube and do a search, you can find a lot of tutorials on how to make printables. Something as simple as this is just taking the time and adding all the print, but something like this is just a graph that I put in, and it's a graph from PowerPoint, and then I just downloaded a few images from Google Images. I dragged them and placed them, and then I just did my type, and that's it. So it's super simple. Anybody can do it, I feel. If I can try to figure out a way that I can record myself doing one, I'm going to try my hardest again. But like I said, I tried already and I failed miserably. So I will try. So for now, thank you guys for sitting with me. Oh, and another question that I get asked a lot, and I get it through Instagram. If I'm drinking coffee, every time people see me with this jug on my Instagram story, they ask me if I'm drinking Coke, because sometimes it's really early in the morning, or if it's my coffee. This coffee. So I like my coffee black, and usually it's in my coffee mug or it's in a mason jar. But it is coffee, and I love my coffee black. Okay, so that was the other one. Okay, so for now, guys, thank you guys for watching. If you guys are still here, thank you guys. And feel free and leave me any comments or questions or whatever. And thank you guys. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.